Welcome to The Explainer. So, when a screenwriter sits down to write, who are they really writing for? I mean, the answer seems obvious, right? But it's actually way more complex than you'd think. There's this invisible audience, a kind of chain of observation that secretly shapes every scene, every moment, every line of dialogue. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this whole idea.
All right, let's start with a big question. What does it actually mean to be free as a writer? You know, we all have this image of a blank page, just total freedom, no rules, nobody looking over your shoulder. But is that really what's going on?
And look, in a lot of ways, that's totally true. When you're really in the zone, writing can feel like the purest form of expression there is. It's just your ideas, your story, your voice, all just flowing onto the page with zero constraints. But, and this is a big but, when that writing is a screenplay, this really fascinating paradox comes into play. A novelist gets to hand their complete thought directly to the reader. A screenwriter, on the other hand, steps into a world of purposeful, often invisible, constraints that just completely changes the entire game.
So if these constraints aren't coming from, say, a studio boss or a picky director, where do they even come from? Well, the surprising answer is the writer puts them there, themselves.
Yeah, you heard that right. This pressure isn't some outside force pushing down on them. The screenwriter actually, voluntarily, builds a kind of cage of limitations around their own work. It's a totally conscious choice to limit their own creative freedom. It sounds completely backward, doesn't it? Why would you ever willingly put shackles on your own creativity? But believe it or not, there is a really powerful and fundamental reason for doing this. And here's the key. A screenplay, or a scenario, is just built differently than a novel. A novel is the final product, but a screenplay, it's a blueprint. It's a plan for something that people are going to see and hear. Its entire reason for existing is for an audience to experience it, and that single purpose changes everything. So let's dig into the first layer of this relationship. Let's see how this all plays out inside the story itself, right there between the creator and the person they've created. So instead of being this all-powerful god, pulling the strings on their characters like puppets, the writer actually takes on a very different role. They become the character's first and most important audience member. This sets up a really fascinating dynamic. The character, in a way, is performing for the writer. Every single action they take, every line they say, it's all being shaped by the writer's observation. It's what guides the character's journey from the very beginning to the very end. But wait, the writer isn't the final boss here. They might be the first observer, but they are always aware of someone else in the room, an even more important presence. There's one more crucial layer to all this. The final observer, the ultimate judge and jury, is the audience. And this creates that chain of observation we talked about. The writer is watching the character, but the writer is in turn being watched by you, the audience. Every decision the writer makes, every shocking plot twist, every character choice, is influenced by this unseen presence. So what does this all mean? Well, to create a truly great screenplay, a writer has to become a master at navigating all these invisible forces, keeping the whole thing in this delicate, perfect balance. It's this incredible balancing act. You have to stay true to what your character would really do, but you also have to create something that's going to connect with an audience. You're constantly moving between the private world of your story and the public world of the viewer, making sure that character's journey has a real emotional punch. This one sentence just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that chain of observation that defines powerful screenwriting. The character acts for the writer creates for the audience, and the audience is always there, the final judge of whether it all worked. And that's the question every storyteller has to ask themselves. Because when you finally understand who is watching you, writing stops being this lonely, solitary act and becomes a conversation. And that conversation is what can turn a little idea in your head into an experience that moves the world. So, the next time you write, just remember, you're never really alone. Your audience is always there, just waiting in the wings.